them have a boosting special attacker. It's the Golden Go for Christopher, but it's actually the Primarina for Fiona. The Golden Go over there is holding a Choice Scarf. And then a lot of support Pokemon around that. Incineroar, of course, and then a Grass type, Amoonguss versus Rillaboom. Vulnerable to fighting offense if the Annihilate can go Grass type. And we do immediately see it on the field, the Incineroar and the Annihilate up against Golden Go and Amoonguss.
Yeah, Swiss round 11, the final round of Swiss here, Toronto Regional Championships. This is a winning in scenario for the asymmetrical round of Top Cut. The loser is going to be watching Top Cut with us, Len.
Yep. So Golden Go on the field would like to start getting boosted up, but these are two pretty scary threats against it. The Annihilate should be faster than Golden Go, threatens some Ghost offense, although it is weak base power Ghost offense right now until you put a hit into the Annihilate. But meanwhile, the Incineroar is the bigger problem for Golden Go. Incineroar is enemy #1 for Golden Go in this format. Really difficult to break through and also to take hits from, and then it is safety goggles Incineroar, so you can't redirect those hits away, so no surprise to see Golden Go fleeing this field. In comes the Porygon instead.
Yeah, that Porygon will take over for Golden Go, potentially changing up what Fiona wants to go for in the future turns. And Annihilate just protecting on this turn here for now, so it doesn't want to be messed up by the Amoonguss. The knockoff goes into Porygon 2, which doesn't do that much damage, but it does get rid of the Eviolite, so a lot of Porygon's innate defensive capabilities have been taken away with that knockoff.
Yeah, really strong turn for Fiona. Golden Go needed to leave the field there. Knockoff's just the best offense into the Golden Go, but of course switching Porygon 2 into it means the Eviolite is gone. A lot of the value of even running a Porygon 2 is getting to use Eviolite, so losing that item is very significant. Meanwhile, Amoonguss was just trying to break the Focus Sash on the Annihilate on the other side. Of course, would have also boosted up Rage Fist into a 100 base power move, but for now, neither of those things happen. Annihilate just protects itself, doesn't want to take a hit. And instead is full health, sash intact, ready to threaten this Porygon 2 that now, without an Eviolite, and could just go down to a close combat here. And Amoonguss can't even safely Rage Powder because it could be a Grass Terastallization on the other side.
All right, so now we are going to have our first Terastallization of this series, and both players are actually going to Terra. That's the Terra Grass that Len was talking about. Turning into a Grass type, now you are immune to Spore, but also importantly immune to Rage Powder. So Annihilate can target down whichever Pokemon it feels free. Porygon 2 will Terastallize with that Terra Ground here, so you can have a super effective Terra Blast into the Fire type Incineroar on Fiona's end of the field. Close combat also no longer a normal type, so that means Porygon 2 survives that hit, where if it was a normal type would have been enough super effective damage for the KO. But the Incineroar follow-up here is gonna still pick up the KO. So now Christopher's lost his Terastallization in game 1 without getting any damage from it.
Really just smart targeting from Fiona. If the Porygon 2 doesn't Terastallize, Close Combat just picks up the KO and Flare Blitz goes into Amoonguss for a ton of damage. But with Porygon 2 going for the Terastallization, instead you just get that KO and the Terra is wiped away.
And that's one of the parts of Porygon 2 not having access to Protect, where it's so many other crucial moves that it needs. It can't really be allowed to, afforded the time to click Protect, so you can easily target into that slot knowing that you're not going to have your damage mitigated.
Now Golden Go back on the field, a situation it fled just a couple turns ago. But without Porygon 2 anymore, well, now it's up to Golden Go. At least the Terastallization has been spent on the other side, but for now Golden Go just needs to protect itself, still doesn't want to fight against Incineroar.
And there is the coaching from Annihilate here. We're used to seeing Sneasler potentially, and of course Christopher does have coaching Sneasler on his end, but Annihilate this time around for Fiona, boosting Incineroar's attack and defense by 1 stage each. This Incineroar is going to be an even stronger, more potent attacker than it's already been in this series. The Pollen Puff is super effective, bringing Annihilate down to half HP.
That coaching's pretty significant. It should mean Incineroar now threatens a one-hit KO on the Golden Go on the other side. Neither of these Pokemon can be redirected with Rage Powder because of the safety goggles on the Grass type, and the Pollen Puff going into the Annihilate means the Rage Fist is a 100 base power move, so it's also just threatening a KO. No Terastallization to spend. Golden Go super vulnerable, has to flee again to put an Intimidate down onto the Incineroar, but that just means a Defiant boost for this Annihilate.
Yeah, you want to intimidate the Incineroar who got the coaching boost, but at the cost of boosting Annihilate's attack thanks to that Defiant. So Fiona's Annihilate has just been absolutely crucial throughout game 1 here. Knockoff from Incineroar goes into Christopher's Incineroar on the switch in, which will get rid of that safety goggles. With his Pollen Puff going into Annihilate's Protect.
Amoonguss is desperately trying to do the offense on its own. It's the only damaging attacks that have even tried to come out so far have been Pollen Puffs into this Annihilate. if Annihilate can be taken down, maybe there's hope for Christopher in this game, but Fiona continues to protect it. Now it's threatening a close combat into this Incineroar Flare Blitz at +1, or now at neutral again after the Intimidate being threatened into Amoonguss. Still just enormous offense, and Fiona's had to give up so little so far. Just continues to threaten big offense with Annihilate and Incineroar and pose a problem for Christopher.
Incineroar on Christopher's end will switch out into the Golden Go as the only Pokemon remaining on his team in the back. So gotta definitely be careful depending on what attacks Fiona's Incineroar wants to go for. Attempted to go for the Protect, but that is going to fail. Incineroar will knock off Amoonguss' Citrus Berry, which is huge because that's less recovery for this Amoonguss. And now Pollen Puff into the Annihilate. We saw it did 50% last time, and that is going to be the KO.
Fiona doesn't fall for the bait of the Golden Go coming in, doesn't throw a close combat into that slot, instead tries to get a double protect to not go down to Pollen Puff. That doesn't work out, so Annihilate is gone off the field, but a pretty significant knockoff into Amoonguss means that it is definitely in KO range for a Flare Blitz, and no Citrus Berry to help keep it more healthy. But now Rillaboom, another Rage Powder immune Pokemon that can threaten some offense into Golden Go, comes out onto the field. No Spores really available for this Amoonguss at all in this match.
Yeah, Amoonguss is being a little bit more offensive, just going to have to continually click Pollen Puff in this matchup into the grass types on Fiona's end.
Now with Annihilate gone, though, a little bit easier to use Intimidate, both of these physical attackers, and no Defiant to worry about. Amoonguss also low in health, can heal back some of the health it's lost by going out with Regenerator. Ultimately, the problem stays, how does Golden Go do enough offense here? You're dealing with an Incineroar, the Assault Vest on the Rillaboom means you're going to need boosts before you can really deal with it, and still, Golden Go looks very vulnerable in all these positions. Doesn't have Terrestrialization available to protect itself because it was used on Porygon 2 earlier in the game, and there's still a hidden Pokemon for Fiona. You have to be ready to deal with something like the Scarf Golden Go at the end of the game that could just come and Shadow Ball Golden Go if you put too much focus in that spot.
Right, and even if Fiona's Incineroar doesn't go for the Flare Blitz or knockoff into Golden Go, the Rillaboom still has high horsepower. It's a super effective ground attack into this Golden Go, so it's not like Christopher's Golden Go is in a safe spot either way. But Fiona anticipating the switch there with the high horsepower into Incineroar. Knockoff from Fiona goes into Golden Go's Protect. So Chris does have his Incineroar on the field here this turn.
Yeah, Christopher has Incineroar, has both opposing Pokemon at -1, has Fake Out being threatened. This is probably the best position that he's been in. To kind of ignore the macro of the game, this is the best single turn position to try to get something done, because the Incineroar on the other side can be faked out, and at -1, the Rillaboom isn't too much of a threat into the Golden Go. It could be a chance to get a nasty plot up or to get some damage. Still a long way to play from here, but remember the Pokemon score is still just 3-3, and with a couple turns of good positioning and safety for this Golden Go, things could start to open back up for Christopher.
And potentially, if Christopher Hahn is anticipating Golden Go as the 4th Pokemon for Fiona in the back, like we are potentially anticipating, then you're going to need to keep this Incineroar on your side healthy, because Amoonguss with Pollen Puff is really not going to do anything to a Golden Go there. But it will be revealed that Fiona brought her trusty Baxcalibur to eat that Fake Out, and now the Incineroar will have its attack stat reset the next time it comes in. There is the Golden Go nasty plot. We were talking about raising a special attack by 2 stages. High horsepower into Golden Go does just under 50%. Going to be even less after grassy terrain recovery.
Baxcalibur a lot worse here than the Golden Go would have been. Would have been more useful against other Pokemon of Christopher's, but Baxcalibur, of course, weak to Make It Rain. It's going to be easy to take down, and then also Golden Go resists his Ice offense. Now, we mentioned it has high horsepower. That means it's threatening in this moment, should be faster than the Golden Go as well. And so, Golden Go may be forced to protect this turn, which just gives an avenue for this Incineroar to switch back in. Of course, Incineroar the best switch in for a possible Make It Rain as well.
But that will lower the attacks of both of Christopher's Pokemon, but Golden Go is a special attacker, so he does not care about that. One-hit KO into Baxcalibur. I think Fiona understanding, as you mentioned, Baxcalibur is not as relevant in this matchup remaining with the final Pokemon Christopher has.
Yeah, especially with Golden Go being faster than Baxcalibur. The Baxcalibur had very little value to offer in the game, so you can kind of take a swing there. Golden Go's faster, it just takes down Baxcalibur. and if Excalibur can get attack off, all the better. But yeah, this is how things start to open back up with a parting shot to reduce the offensive presence from Incineroar, and now Intimidate being threatened. Fiona down to just 2 Pokemon. That next Intimidate's going to be sticky and pretty important, because getting Incineroar to -2, Rillaboom to -1, this Golden Go is going to get enough health back from Grassy Terrain to probably be able to take another hit.
Yeah, that's pretty huge that Christopher's able to get the parting shot, because then you have the stat drop there on the switch out, and you will also be able to switch Incineroar in at some point again to reset it. But Golden Go still has 1 special attack boost after Make It Rain lowered its stats by 1, but that's why Nasty Plot is so strong on Golden Go. But right now, with a full health Rillaboom on this side, and Incineroar as well, this Amoonguss is in danger.
Right, Amoonguss is in danger, just is going to protect itself. Golden Go also protecting itself this turn.
Yeah, Golden Go, Amoonguss just playing it safe for Christopher. Doesn't want to get hit by anything that Fiona has on her turn. So now she's down to her last 2 Pokemon, where it was a pretty solid lead those first couple of turns, pretty advantageous in Fiona's benefit. But now Christopher is the only one remaining that has any flexibility and pivot potential by still having a 3rd Pokemon.
Has the pivot potential, imagine needs to use it this turn, because Golden Go is looking somewhat vulnerable, cannot probably KO either of these Pokemon on this turn. How to use it is interesting. The Incineroar coming in and intimidating in the Amoonguss slot probably doesn't save Golden Go, so it might be tempting to do it in the Golden Go slot, but you give up 1 boost there. These Pokemon could just both go out on the offense and try to find a KO that way, but it's probably asking a lot for Incineroar and Amoonguss to close out the game, but maybe not too much. Incineroar itself is pretty good into both of these Pokemon, very bulky into them, and will have the Intimidate advantage.
To Make It Rain, knowing that Golden Go is the fastest Pokemon on the field, so Christopher gets a lot of damage into both of Fiona's remaining Pokemon. High horsepower will be enough for the knockout into Golden Go, so Amoonguss gonna have to take a Flare Blitz from Fiona's Incineroar. Super effective into Amoonguss. He is full HP, however, so it will be brought down under 50%. No Citrus Berry remaining. Remember, the Incineroar knocked off the Citrus Berry, so no health recovery, but Amoonguss has gotten 2 KOs in this game.
Amoonguss, Pollen Puff's very significant, and now the Incineroar comes in, is very healthy, and just has the advantage against this Rillaboom. Shouldn't be in KO range from 1 high horsepower, and Amoonguss can finally turn its Pollen Puffs to the other side and try to heal back the Incineroar. Something like a Fake Out and Pollen Puff gives you 1 turn to get it done. But yeah, Fiona sees the writing on the wall, knows that Rillaboom cannot beat Incineroar from that position. And Krister is able to close out game 1 after a pretty rocky start with not being able to find traction against the Annihilate in the early game.
Yeah, very impressive play by Christopher there, and for any new players or new viewers that are not as familiar with how VGC works, as a new Masters Division player, showing a lot of skill there, understanding the win condition of I have to preserve Golden Go. I have to find a way to get Golden Go to click Nasty Plot safely on 1 turn, and by getting the 1 Nasty Plot, that essentially brought Christopher back into the game, and those 2 Make It Rains helped him win.
Yeah, the lead really evaporated in a few pieces because the lead was established here with the KO onto Porygon and the strong early positioning from Fiona, but losing the Annihilate on this turn while it just tried to go for a double protect, that's a big part of the lead lost. And then Excalibur basically offering nothing in the game, just coming in, taking a Make It Rain and being KO'd meant that 1 Pokemon of your lead was not actually much of a lead, because it was going to have no impact on the game. And so then we were just looking at a kind of 2 to 3 in the game that ended up being in Christopher's favor because he had the healthier Incineroar. We've talked before in tournaments about in these matches that are very drawn out, lots of pivoting and support Pokemon, oftentimes the healthier Incineroar becomes the signifier of who's ahead in the game. The Incineroar was so important for both players. For Fiona, it was kind of the main obstacle in front of Golden Go that was keeping it down. And for Christopher, it ended up being the win condition once it came in and was healthier than that Rillaboom.
All right, well, Chris, we're going to switch up the strategy here in game 2 with a game to play with since he's already up 1-0. Might as well take a risk. Sneasler Dragonite, the Dragonite who had a tough matchup into Excalibur, is not facing it. It's Incineroar Annihilate.
Yeah, one way to react to your opponent bringing up Excalibur and getting nothing out of it is thinking they will just not bring Excalibur in. Then if you don't think that Excalibur is an option, then Dragon Knight starts to look a lot better. A little bit of a risky play. If Excalibur had just been led here, it would have been a little bit more difficult, but a Sneasler also helps to cover for that option because Sneasler could go out for a close combat. Of course, Ghost Terrestrialization of Excalibur would negate that, but at least forcing the Terrestrialization, you have a little bit more options to play with. But for now, no Excalibur, but a pretty important Intimidate into both of these Pokemon, both down to -1 attack now. And Golden Go, that's the other great answer for Dragon Knight. He's able to switch in here, will be faster even after a Scale Shot, and doesn't have to worry about the offense of a Scale Shot very much.
Right, because of that Choice Scarf, not only, those Pokemon are relatively in the same speed tier, but if you're going to invest in a Choice Scarf, you're also going to try to make it faster than those Pokemon like Dragon Knight, who might not always opt into max speed, so the Scarf can be relevant in this matchup. Fake out into the Dragon Knight slot there to stop it, but the close combat from the Sneasler, now Terra Ghost Sneasler into Incineroar, bring it down to about 30% HP remaining. Gets the Poison Touch as well, so Fiona's Incineroar is on a timer.
A really aggressive use of Terrestrialization from Christopher, just wants the close combat into the Incineroar, wants to chunk it down really far quickly. We saw how important it was in that last game, and so getting it down this low, and like you said, poisoned and on a timer now, is very significant. And so uses the Ghost Terrestrialization to say, yeah, you can fake out the Dragon Knight, I'll lose multi-scale, but Sneasler needs to be able to attack this turn. And if the fake out had been into Sneasler instead, then that turn looks even stronger, where you still are getting your close combat. Dragon Knight is also getting to attack. So it doesn't pay off as doesn't really pay off much, the Terrestrialization, right? The fake out didn't go in that direction, but it guaranteed that close combat going off, and now forces this Incineroar off the field.
The other thing now, as Sneasler is a Ghost type, that the Choice Scarf Shadow Ball from Fiona's side can be very powerful into the Sneasler. But Rillaboom will swap into the Incineroar slot for Fiona, but we'll go for the Make It Rain instead. Sneasler, you don't care about its defensive typing since it's so frail anyway, gets brought down to its focus as Dragon Knight down to about 50% HP remaining. And there's the Dire Claw on the Rillaboom switch in, super effective, and another Poison Touch. He's 2 for 2 on the Dire Claw poisons. Scale Shot, it was to follow up into Rillaboom, but you can see how little damage it did. Oh, there's the critical hit. It probably would have got there anyway with the loaded dice, but because of that prior damage onto Rillaboom, that means it gets KO'd right away.
Smart use of Dire Claw and Incineroar so low it would have gone down anyway. And I think the Dire Claw versus the close combat is what makes the difference of whether the Scale Shot picks up the KO there, especially the critical hit helps seal it. We do see Poison Touch giving and taking here, though. The Poison Touch gets the extra damage onto Incineroar, but if this Sneasler had Unburden, it would have lost the Focus Sash there and would now be faster than the Golden Go on the other side. But no Unburden in this case. Sneasler is still slower than that Golden Go, which is now threatening a Make It Rain into both of these slots. Dragon Knight, though, might have enough health to be able to take a now -1 Make It Rain based on the last turn of damage.
And at that point, if Christopher is able to, pretty much take out 2 of Fiona's Pokemon with the Sneasler, if it goes down, that's a trade well worth it, a 1 for 2.
The Steel Terrestrialization will make up the difference in that lost damage, though, would help make this Make It Rain just a double KO. I don't know if Christopher protected either Pokemon, but there's a bunch of damage coming in. For now, Dragon Knight just protecting itself, though.
Yeah, going to keep itself safe from any of this Make It Rain damage. Annihilate on Fiona's end will protect, so nothing, no attacks coming out there. Make It Rain will connect into the Sneasler at 1 HP, getting rid of one of the biggest threats in the format, one of Christopher's most important Pokemon. Terrestrialization has been used, so now Christopher with his last 2 Pokemon, or his other 2 Pokemon in the back, is going to have to reveal 1 in this spot.
This could be a pretty helpful knockout for Christopher, though, being able to reposition here and get some more support. Also, the knockout being allowed means that Make It Rain dropped Golden Go special attack 1 more stage. Dragon Knight maybe has a little bit more hope of surviving one Make It Rain now, which is going to probably be key for Christopher. This Make It Rain just comes out first. If the Golden Go is faster than Dragon Knight and has the damage to just KO Dragon Knight here, and so this turn plays out as just a Make It Rain for a KO into Dragon Knight, it will be very hard for Christopher to fight it back. But any other outcome where Dragon Knight gets to attack and put some damage out may kind of swing things back the other direction.
Yeah, at -2, there's also a possibility of Golden Go wanting to switch out to reset. No special attack dropped. Incineroar in the back would have you know, would be switching into that slot, and the Annihilate, it no longer has access to Terra, or I guess, no, yeah, it can't Terra Grass, right? So it wouldn't, the Spore is an option for Amoonguss potentially in this spot. But staying in with the Steel type Golden Go with the stat drops, Fiona thinking that this damage, even at -2, will be enough to KO the Dragonite, and it's not. It hangs on in the red with 16 HP left for Christopher. The Raised Fist has to do the follow-up damage into the Dragonite to get the KO.
So Dragonite does end up being faster than the Golden Go and get some valuable damage back onto this Golden Go. And then also, like you mentioned, because the Steel Terrestrialization was used to amplify the damage to try to pick up the KO on that Dragonite on the previous turn, which was undone by having to make it rain the Sneasler for a turn, the Grass Terrestrialization wasn't available to block this Spore. Annihilate falls asleep. And things start to look a little bit more dodgy. Of course, Golden Go can still switch out now in order to get back those special attack stages. Now 3 of them lost, but you're down to having to deal with a Golden Go in the end game. Terrestrialization has been used for Christopher as well, though, so when Fiona gets Golden Go back out, there's no protection for this Golden Go.
Right, and the Incineroar is so low from the damage from the Dire Claw, or the Poison Touch, before getting the poison, putting it on a timer. The Grassy Terrain will help negate that, you know, somewhat. So Incineroar is going to have to actually be attacked for it to be knocked out. But the Shadow Ball into Annihilate will bring it down to its Focus Sash, which is important because this allows the Amoonguss to claim yet another KO in this series with Pollen Puff. Annihilate is knocked out.
The missing Grass Terrestrialization is just so significant there. If one, Annihilate would still be awake because it would have been able to block a Spore, but it also would have then been able to target down the Golden Go because the Rage Powder wouldn't have been an option. You know, if it had taken a Pollen Puff as a Grass type instead of a Spore as a Fighting and Ghost type, things look a lot better for Fiona. But the Annihilate instead falls asleep, and so then it's down on the shoulders of this Golden Go that consumed the Terrestrialization. But you can't Spore the Golden Go, you can Rage Powder it, you can try to keep Golden Go safe that way. Also, Golden Go can just protect itself, unlike the one on the other side, can skip a turn and let this Incineroar go down to poison damage.
Right, Christopher is going to protect both of his Pokemon here, one to force Fiona's Choice Scarf Golden Go to lock itself into its attack of choice there, which will be the Shadow Ball. But then with Incineroar being so low and poisoned on the other side, it's going to be a tough matchup. You can redirect the Shadow Ball like you mentioned, but now Fiona's Pokemon, or Fiona's Golden Go, excuse me, is not weak to Shadow Ball the way that Christopher's Golden Go is.
Christopher's Golden Go is weak to Shadow Ball if a Shadow Ball ever shows up, right? You can redirect a couple of them. Citrus Berry hasn't been knocked off in this game, is still offering recovery. And the Golden Go will outspeed the Incineroar and take it out, even though poison damage didn't KO it. So the damage is all on the other Golden Go's shoulders. I think it's just too many Shadow Balls. Even with the speed advantage, you know, Christopher's going to get a chance to attack. This looks pretty safely in hand for Christopher because of the Rage Powder support. Amoonguss finally, in the game 1, had to do so much of the offensive role, but in game 2, got to get a Spore off, got to get an impactful Rage Powder off, and is having the impact that Christopher was looking for.
Yeah, Amoonguss was your big prediction Pokemon at the beginning of the weekend, and we're now seeing why it is so crucial to Christopher Hahn's success this weekend in Toronto. Incineroar gets knocked out from the Make It Rain. Its HP so low, would have been KO'd from the poison damage anyway at the end of the turn. And now Fiona's Golden Go is just so low that another double up into it should be enough.
You can see just how far away in terms of Shadow Balls this was. Golden Go doesn't even activate the Citrus Berry on the first Shadow Ball. That means this one is just going to come in, not KO, activate a Citrus Berry. Even the third Shadow Ball wouldn't have been enough to KO. And so Amoonguss providing that redirection support against a less offensive Golden Go. When you're invested in the Choice Scarf and all of that speed, you don't have the same offensive potential that, you know, like Christopher's Life Orb Golden Go does. And so his comes out on top and earns him a spot into that top cut.
Yeah, congratulations to Christopher Hahn, the first-year master, already taking names this season, bringing himself